So I'll go ahead and do that. Okay, cool. So how are you, first of all?
I'm doing well.
Oh, that's good.
I'm excited about this.
Good. Yeah.
Still, yeah, just trying to figure out what's what.
Of course, I know. Yeah, yeah, over the years it's evolved where basically I just try to include everything that you'll ever need for your imaging purposes. So hopefully that's what you have. So there's going to be some spare parts, but one day you might be imaging something that just requires a little bit of a different configuration. And the point is that, okay, let's remember those spare parts and hopefully you can grab them and set it up in a way that works.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I don't know how many specific questions I have yet. There's like
Sure.
the setup things that we're talking about. So I guess it looks like the lens diffuser is a pretty critical piece
Oh,
to get
yes.
your light bouncing back.
Yeah.
And so this one doesn't seem to fit any of the lenses. So
So we'll do that right now. So do you have the MP65 mounted?
that's what's on now. Yeah.
Yeah. So what happens during shipping? These are brand new when they come off the printer and when I put on a gasket. So essentially, I have to seat the gasket, and I do that right before I send them off. But sometimes because they're just installed in shipment, the gasket might start to warp a little bit. But once you get it seated, it should stay and like it'll be good to go. But what I would do now is just I would take it, hold it up to the front of the MP65 lens, and just kind of apply a little bit of pressure and just twist it and see if it grabs. And if it doesn't, we'll just need to adjust the O-ring. It's
Now,
too
if the
big?
O-ring's not even making contact, the lens is hitting the rim inside before.
Oh,
So this is just too shallow.
did you go around and push the gasket in?
Yep.
Looks, yeah, that's the problem. So yeah. Yeah, so I actually seat them. They're not supposed to be snug inside there. So what you need to do now is actually get like something sharp, pull it back out. And let me show you mine for example. I
Okay. So I saw in one of your videos where you're shoving them back in. So
Oh, no, no, no. It might have been just a little bit. So see how you can see the O-ring of mine? I couldn't even see yours when you held it up.
right.
And it doesn't, and see how it's also not spherical? Like it's mostly around, but then it's bit like down here. And that's because if you leave sort of an area out, it actually allows it to pop and it grabs from the other side. Um, yeah, so I think that's the issue. So sometimes if you have a dissection kit, there's sometimes a pointy tool in there, and you can just sort of tug it back out, completely remove the O-ring, and then just sort of go around with your thumbs, and you want to just sort of partially seat it.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll get that resolved first. We'll also, while we're doing that as well, I'll just get to your questions 1 and 2. So the MP65 1 to 5X. So I know that that's not on the invoice. That lens is now completely discontinued by Canon,
Right.
but it's such a valuable lens that for all of my customers, as long as I can source a used one, I still
Okay.
provide free of
Okay.
charge. Yeah, so that you're not charged for it, and that is actually a bonus to you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
So,
we have two, but
mhm.
they're both several years old, and we have to send them in for service periodically. So having another is always useful. All right.
And these, yeah, so that might be a little bit. So what you want to do is just start testing it. It's probably gonna be a little too loose now, but that looks good. So now just start yeah, so did that go on? It might be a little too snug still.
No, it's actually still too loose. I really need
Oh
to have
yeah.
it most of the way out.
Okay.
But yeah, I see it's closer.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And you don't need to go all the way around. You kind of want it to be asymmetrical on the inside.
Yeah.
Um, and it'll grab a little bit better. Yeah, people do they'll put it on and they'll notice it feels a little snug the first time and they will go around and push it. It happens every once in a while. And then we
All
actually
right.
do.
Okay. That'll
Yeah,
stay out.
yeah, and
All
you
right.
can adjust it. And once it's good, it's good. You won't ever have to touch it again.
Yeah.
So that'll
All
be
right.
good.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
got that taken care of. All right.
Perfect.
I guess next thing was I was trying to figure out
Yes.
sort of how you set all these things up. I mean, I can see that this clamps on over the top.
Yep, and there's a little bit of tack on there that keeps it secure. But the purpose of this is a couple of things. So this will answer a couple of your questions. Um, Basically, what it's designed to do is block light. So your light actually where it's at, it should be coming in from the side, the windows where your flash
Mhm.
is. We'll get to that. Um, and what you want to do is bounce light all the way around the inside. The reason why it's open in the back is because there's nothing for light to contact. So that actually
Mhm.
gives you a pure black background with basically perfect contrast. Um, and a black background is arguably the most difficult to achieve. It usually requires the one with a lot of Photoshop. So this actually prevents any Photoshop, airbrush, or editing. But the reason why you see the three Velcro strips on there is if
Mhm.
you have different colored felt, or if you prefer a neutral gray background, you just go get a neutral gray from Michael's
Okay.
Arts and Crafts, and you
Okay.
just stick it on the back. But I let that's not something I provide because everybody's partial to a different color.
Yeah. Well, I figured out how to jam a little card, a gray
Oh, okay.
card in the back of it. So
Yeah, that'll work.
yeah.
Um, and something else that's helpful, you'll notice that on your universal stage is like a little tacky substance. And also on the seam of the dome is a tacky substance. That's actually dental wax.
Hmm.
It's actually really great. So if you have any of that lying around and want to get some on Amazon, it's only $1. Oh
I
yeah,
already got
perfect. Yeah. So I
it.
would just use that to adhere your gray card, and that's exactly what you need. That's
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Then I guess next thing then is
Next thing is now the flash. Yeah,
these
flash.
guys. Yeah.
Exactly.
So
So these are also a new-ish item. These are something I never ever included with the system because it made the system a little less intuitive for people that didn't know much about lighting with photography. So before you'll notice that on the stack shot actually is this bar. It's right here.
mhm.
This is actually where the flashes have always been designed to mount. And if you
Oh,
look at
okay.
the pack, you'll see these wings.
Mhm.
So these wings are designed to actually mount to the bottom of the flash, and then you
Yeah.
mount them on that bar, and that actually fixes it very securely in a very good location. However, with this new light dome setup, the dome setup is actually more for photogrammetry. It's because you need uniform light as you rotate your specimen, where that was really difficult to do. So we found that raising the lights up a little bit made it easier. Um, in the early days, we had a black bar, which is I think what you're seeing on the YouTube videos that allowed you to sort of mount the bracket. Like you can get on that pretty snug, but it was pretty excessive, added weight. So what we realized actually is it's much, much easier to actually just mount it directly on a stack shot. So what you want to do, like you can see how snug that is. Like I'm moving it
Oh,
around.
okay.
Yeah. So if you look on here, the way I've done it is I've gone completely under the block that moves, and
Yep.
I've gone completely over that bar up here. And you can mount both of them there. Yeah, and you just want to make sure it's dead center so that you have enough trackway. And then you can sort of bend and maneuver the light so that you point it through the window there.
So
Yeah, so you'll I think you're too high. I think you're a little too high. You kind of want to go right over the top one. You just want to go over the bar. I don't think you want to. Are you up over the stage? Oh yeah, you're good.
no, I was trying that first, and yeah, no, I
Oh,
see it's
okay.
just on the bar now.
Yep,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah. And something you could also do, and also it might be helpful like to just kind of to bend it first before you install it, but
Mhm.
that's something. But you could actually also install the little clamps. It'll give it a little bit more of a platform to bite onto. It's just that when you thread these, there's going to be one. It's you know how on a bicycle you have a pedal that's one's righty tighty, one's lefty tighty because of
Oh,
the
you got a
ratio
reverse
of the
thread on
crank.
one.
Yeah, so one of
Okay.
these doesn't have a reverse thread, but the way you twist it, you almost intuitively loosen it. So
Yeah.
what you do to tighten it, you actually hold the bolt and then you use this as a lever to tighten it
Okay.
down and it'll stay really snug. But sometimes some people they miss that idea too.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I just want to confirm looking at this, are you using you should use two flashes just to get a little bit more light?
Yeah, the other one's on the other side, but
Oh,
it's
okay, good.
it's
Yeah.
there. You just can't see it now.
Okay. And with the dome on top, you do want to get the lights as close to that window as possible. So you just want to be basically a centimeter away from that window.
You're talking about these little
That
slits in the top.
exactly. So that's going to let light in. but it's going to stop the light from touching the sample, which is going to give you better light. And that's what you want. So you just oh yeah, I think you'll have to like kind of, you can kind of see how I have mine. So it's bent way down here at the bottom, and almost have it like a gooseneck so that it comes back up. Yeah, so
Bent back.
right at the bottom. Yeah, so yours is up like this. You kind of want to just go like that first,
Okay.
and then you'll bend it forward. Yep. And then and then you could also oh yeah, and that's exactly it right there. And you'll want to do that on the other side too. Yep. So the closer you can get these flash heads to those windows, the lower you can keep your ISO and the less of a flash output you're going to require. And that's going to basically give you a better image. And it's going to preserve battery life and so forth like that. So that's what that's for.
Okay. In some of your setups, it looked like you had the flashes pointing back at the lens diffuser. Oops.
Yeah.
Oh, it fell.
You'll get the hang of it. Yeah. I wonder too if it's just because yours are new, they're really snug. But once you put it in there, it should be pretty good to go.
Yeah. Well, I'll try to install these little wings too and see what.
Yeah. Yeah, the wings are a good way to go. But the wings also, so there was one stage you opted out of getting, that's the rack and pinion stage. That's really what these wings are for, is to mount the light for in combination with that stage. It'll still work though, because really all you want to do is you want the light to come up and hit the front of the diffuser and re-project back onto the sample.
Right. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
All right. I did mess around with the micro stuff just for a few minutes earlier.
Great.
And it looked like this little stage adapter was necessary to get the height up. Is that what that's mainly for?
No. So that is yeah, that's really just so that you can take the universal stage off the stage you have it on there now. And if you want to use a dissecting scope to position your specimen, you can do it on that. So that'll just thread onto that plate. So it's just one that you can still use the universal stage out on a desktop if you need.
Okay.
You shouldn't need to change the height. I can see you're using all three spacers. So there's 4 clamps, right, on the tripod that has your camera lifted up. So right under
yeah, and everything is still there. That's right. So I could pull out a couple of those.
You can, exactly. So those will modify the height, except the lenses should be in the exact same center point between both of them. So they shouldn't adjust. So I wonder if something might be loose you might just want to check the micro kit lens. Just make sure the foot plate is snug, because they should be. Yeah, I think it's snug. So I don't know. It'd be a little odd if you do need that plate. But of course, that is at your disposal if you do need to adjust height, but you shouldn't need to.
Right. No, it makes sense that the camera center should be in the same spot. Well, I'll double check it next time.
Okay.
So as I mentioned way back when, I'm probably going to be doing a lot of this vertical. I wanted to kind of go with the default first.
Okay.
I see the plate. I'm going to have to set all that up. What other changes should I look forward to?
Yeah, so the only
and then I guess maybe that's where this puppy comes in.
Yeah, exactly. So we used to make these, they used to be solid iron and really heavy. The weight was a problem, I always thought. So now they're out of aluminum, so they're a little bit lighter. But the reason why we needed them to be iron before is because the flashes were never wireless. So the flashes would come down, they'd mount into the petrographic analyzer, and then it would have the tendency to pull up on it. You want that to happen. So now these are wireless, so you don't have that issue anymore. So now what you'll do is you'll take your vertical stage. Just grab a tripod here. And all you do is you'll extend your legs. You'll thread out the bottom.
Okay.
And what happens is you just slide this directly down. I actually just milled this yesterday, so this might be a little tolerance is actually a tad off. But basically, then what I'll do is I'll tighten this down, and then that's how that gets on there. So that's essentially that part done, and then that's really it. Once you just slide that down, the vertical rod will take the place of this stand. If you want, because a vertical system introduces a lot more vibration than a horizontal system, which is why we prefer the horizontal if you can do it. One way to sort of reduce that is you can bend these legs back and then you can brace it up against a wall like this, these two legs.
Oh,
That'll
yeah.
help cure the vibrations. So
Right.
that's something to just sort of keep in mind.
Yep.
To do it that way. Yeah. But the petrographic analyzer for slide imaging, yeah, it's better to be vertical, of course.
Right. And then,
Yeah.
so how do the motors work then when you're vertical?
Yep. So what you'll do is there's another video on this on just
Okay.
working the whole system vertically, but you'll just move the stack shot under the camera. You'll remove all three spacers, leave the adapter. You'll use that adapter to slide the stack shot on there. The servo is going to be facing towards you, like up, basically, to keep the orientations the same. So when you
Yeah.
have vertical, the servo is going to be up in the air. And then the camera is going to mount directly on top of the stack shot. And
Okay.
in your bag is a bag for a kit that allows you to just thread directly into the camera. So you'll be moving the camera relative to your sample. It looks like so you have a bag. It has a little screw that goes right through it. Should be one. I think if you open up your Macropod bag, there's a mesh
Yeah.
pocket at the bottom.
And I think I've got everything dumped out here. So there's this little
Okay.
screw insert.
Oh no, not that
Oh.
one. Yeah, it's a big adapter plate. It looks like.
Oh, that's yeah.
Yep.
This got it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yep.
All right. And so you're putting this into the base of the
Of the camera lens.
camera.
Yep, the foot plate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Cool.
Yep.
All right. That makes more sense. Okay.
Yeah. So that'll
You're
do.
always, everything's always sitting on the spot on the ground, basically, and the camera's motorized.
Yeah.
All right. And then you just set a slide like on top of this plate.
You do, except I think so. There were two things that were kind of new that I'm realizing. I think I forgot to send you, which I was going to introduce now. These are brand new, these diffusers. I just started making them a month ago, but this will mount to the front of your RF 100 millimeter. 100 millimeter is a little different because the glass on the front is so exposed. So when you shine light up towards the 100 millimeter, it'll actually tend to wash out the image. So this sort of works as a Lieberkühn reflector. It's supposed to block the light coming in, but still reflect forward. But if you're using it in the setup like you currently have it set up, this is going to work really well as long as your light is going in the dome. So I'm going to send you this. The second thing, you'll have to let me know if I sent you this because it should have been in there. And I'm thinking that I actually left. Basically, I needed that drawer. But basically, these are just a bunch of step up and step down rings. You didn't get these, did you?
No, I don't recognize
I didn't. I think I did forget. So I will put these in the mail for you today. But basically, if you have usually biological slides, they're a little bit longer than 77 millimeters. So they usually go right across there. Yeah. So for you, I think you're actually okay.
So it's like 2 millimeters longer than that little.
Yeah, exactly.
Thing,
And that's actually what I do. I'll use that and then I'll use the dental wax a little bit to make sure it's snug.
Okay.
Just like the corner. But this will step it down. So geological slides are usually 48 millimeters. So this is necessary. So you'll put these directly on top. And then if you want a smaller platform, this will give it to you. But this should have been in your kit. So I'll get that out to you right away.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then it looks like you've got some LED strips in here. So that's an option, or you can stick the flashes in.
Well, yeah. So you can leave the lights on at all times. With the way that the camera is flashing, the flash is so fast and so bright that basically the lights that you have in the LED are just barely going to be exposed.
Okay, so those are just focusing stage lights.
Exactly. It's more for positioning, getting your slide mounted correctly, looking at where you need to go while you're setting the shot up. And then you can leave them on, but then you'll want to be using the actual flash again. Okay. Just know that because it's white on the base, you can step back on the flash quite a bit.
Yeah, it's going to be bright.
Yeah, you don't need to use as much power. To mitigate that a little bit, there's something that's kind of unique about what you have is, in addition to it just being a microscope, it actually functions more like a petrographic microscope. So you actually have a polarizer down there. On top of that is a UV filter, and you can rotate that UV filter. But if you were to put up another, so there's another polarizer I sent you, or oh no, it wasn't because you're biology. But basically, if you take a polarizer and put it on your lens, you can make all the light go extinct, and then you can actually look at things under cross polarization with that stage, which is pretty cool. But biological materials I tested that they don't have, they don't work with this method. It's more or less like rock or alcohols or chemical things.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that polarizer is also going to help sort of block a lot of light coming up through the slide, and you'll actually find that it generates a very fantastic photograph because instead of the light being directly under the slide, it doesn't wash out or highlight any of the boundaries. You actually get a really matte appearance, which is really, really nice in the image when you get a reflector or a diffused platform underneath the slide.
All right. Well, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Like I said, I just messed around with the micro stuff a little bit. I'm not sure. It looks like the 10x there's not a lot of gain over the 1 to 5x lens. I'm not sure how much airtime that will get.
It should have a lot of gain. I should have precisely too.
Okay.
Twice as much. Yeah. And not only that, but I also sent you an Excel spreadsheet of some updated settings that I'm using. I'll tell you where that spreadsheet is.
Yeah, I got the whole download, scale bar files and camera settings.
Exactly. So there will be new scale bars coming your way once they're completed. But in there, there should just be something called scale bar settings. Did you see that? Scale bar files and camera settings in an Excel spreadsheet?
Yep.
Yeah. So with the new mirrorless cameras, there's a little bit more vignetting that occurs around the outside of the lens. It's actually recommended as well that when you use your micro kit, that you crop the camera sensor to 1.6x. So you just really quickly go into settings and just crop it to 1.6x, and that's going to give you even more magnification gain as well. But
can you do that in the remote application? You have to do it on the camera.
You have to do it on the camera, but it's really simple. You just, I think you'll hit menu on the camera. I can walk you through it really quick.
Yeah, that's good.
And you want to be on, I know it's a yellow screen, but it should just say sensor cropping. Should be one more to the right, I think. I'll turn my camera on too and do this with you. I don't know what it's like down there, but allergies have been brutal up here.
Yep, I'm with you.
Yeah. Okay, so let me turn this camera on. Okay, so
I see. There, it's a red screen, cropping aspect ratio.
Exactly. Yep. And you should be on full sensor right now, and you'll want to turn that to 1.6.
Yep, I see it.
And that will slightly change your obviously the field of view. So those dimensions are actually written in the spreadsheet, and it's going to obviously change the scale bar, which I'm going to send you. So I have those pretty much almost done, but maybe give it another 2 weeks, and I'll have those completed for everybody to send out. But yeah,
so that's where you've got the resolution is 3700 by 2500 basically.
Yeah, which is still honestly pretty substantial. That's very good resolution.
All right.
Yeah. The goal here for me has always been trying to produce a very high quality, manageable image, one that doesn't take forever to load, take forever to edit, take forever to stack.
Right.
And sometimes finding that balance between really good image resolution and just magnification is key for workflow. So that's a really good size, really manageable to work with. Yeah.
All right.
Perfect.
I guess that's all no. Do you use these hoods at all times or not at all?
Not at all. Yeah, no, there's some accessories that are going to come along with this just because they come with like Canon or they come with Cognisys that you'll never need to use unless you decide to take it out to the field and use it that way.
Right.
I will just sort of mention that if you're going to get into the micro kit, there are different diffusers. The one that
Yep.
has a wider aperture is the one that you're going to want. I gave you one that has a smaller aperture as well. It's tinier, but that
Mhm.
really is if you're ever to pursue a 50 or 100x objective, one with a higher power, that's what that's for. So if you
Okay.
use the one with the small aperture, you're not going to get a good image. It's not going to work well. So make sure you
Okay.
use the one with the wide image. Um, so there's that. Um, it was and then the other diffusers, the turtle dove diffusers, one that look like little wings.
That's the flash
Yes.
add-ons.
So they're to be used if you take the system out into the field. So if you ever have
Okay.
like an intention of going out to the field and you want to put the lights like directly on the camera and just do handheld photography,
Mhm.
that's going to give you better diffusion than if you were just shining a light on your specimen. But it's not gonna match the light diffusion that you currently have set up on the system behind you. So they're not so much used in a lab setting, but in a field setting, they could be really helpful. And there might be a situation where you are in the lab and you say, I've got these, I might need to dull the light down a little bit more. You could use them, but just so you know, that's their main purpose.
All right.
Cool.
Well, I think that's it for now. But
Okay, that sounds good.
I'm sure
Yeah,
you'll hear from me again. But
it's all right.
thank you very much for that. That starting to make more sense.
Good. Yeah.
Will take a lot of experimentation.
All right, that sounds good. Well, yeah, keep me posted. I'm around, like I said, if you need anything or anything comes up. And yeah, I hope you enjoy using the system and feel welcome to share some images too if you get some.
Yeah, as soon as I
Yeah.
get something presentable.
Okay, terrific. All right. Well, thank you very much, Mike.
All right, we'll talk to you later.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.